Hey everyone, my name is Megan and I'm here with my colleague Shalini. We're excited to chat with you about some strategies for personalization for this year. All right, so just to kick it off, we'll walk through a quick agenda. We're going to share some interesting insights from a survey we recently conducted around customer engagement. And then we're going to walk through some of the challenges around delivering a great experience, along with some best practices and really how to help you scale personalization, because that's definitely a challenge that we always hear from customers coming to us for the first time. So I'm going to kick it off first with just telling you who we are. If you're not familiar with MoEngage, we're an insights-led customer engagement platform. And so we really help marketers deliver great experiences at every stage of the customer lifecycle, from giving them the data and insights to be able to analyze user behavior, as well as being able to integrate data from other tools so you have that single view of the customer. We have a really robust segmentation and personalization engine so that you can personalize communications across channels. And we allow you to engage with your customers, whether that be on mobile app or whether that be through SMS or email marketing or even just web personalization. And then, coupled with all of this is our optimized feature. So we do have a built-in AI engine called Sherpa, and that allows you to really be able to test and get those insights at your fingertips so that you're not spending so much time in the data. You're really able to be empowered by those insights and make decisions very quickly. So just wanted to give you that background before we kick it off. But we're going to start first with the research, because I think this is pretty interesting for any growth marketers or growth product managers that are in the room today. So we conducted this survey earlier this year. We're actually publishing the results very soon. Please do stop by our MoEngage booth today. You could register for an early copy of the report. And so we did a survey of over 1,000 consumers. And the survey really was encompassing how you can how consumers should communicate with brands. So what are some of the trends that they're seeing? What are some of the expectations that they have for brand engagement? And we received over 1,000 responses from both the United States as well as to Europe. So we're going to give you some teasers to the research. The research that will be available, you'll be able to get more insights than this, but you'll also be able to get some best practices too. And so you can kind of see this first question we asked was really, how do consumers prefer to communicate with brands today? And so interestingly, even though everyone always says email is dead, that is absolutely not the case. 32% of consumers said they still prefer to communicate with brands via email. But what was interesting is some of these other channels like social media you would have expected, right? But some emerging channels like mobile, like text, SMS, and app were definitely some of the more popular responses. And just knowing that COVID has had such an impact in the last year, so many companies now are remote, right? So many consumers are doing business online. And so we wanted to understand in the last year, has that communication changed? And you can see that mobile app is actually a new channel that's been adopted by most consumers in the past year, still very close with email in terms of how to communicate with brand. But I thought that was an interesting one to share with you all. And I think the key takeaway here is that every consumer is different. Every consumer is going to have different expectations on where they want to communicate and how. I can give you a great example. So I personally, my bank, I use my mobile app to be able to check my balance every day, make sure everything's looking good. But I prefer an SMS text message if I have a fraud alert. So there will be cases when you have a consumer that may want to be communicated to on multiple channels, but for different reasons. And when it comes to preferences for personalization, I think what we've seen and really in the last couple years is that consumers are much more savvy when it comes to knowing what information companies collect on them. I think any consumer who does business or a transaction with a company, they're giving away their name, they're giving away their address, they're giving away, what products they've purchased, if it's product related. And so I think consumers, even though there is GDPR, there is CCPA in terms of regulations, privacy is so important. And I think for consumers to give away information, they need to get something in return. And so we wanted to ask consumers how they expect their communications to be personalized with the brand. And so you can kind of see here some interesting results. And it just shows, I think, how savvy consumers are today. So based on previous purchase history, makes sense. You wouldn't want to receive a communication for an item you may have already purchased and have another communication for that same item again. Known interest is another one for people who are reading information, consuming information. They're expecting that information to be used so that their next experience with the brand is more personalized. Obviously, name is a given. I think most marketers have been personalizing emails with your name for a while. And then there's some other interesting insights there as well. I think the key takeaway here is that, there's expectations that consumers want to have that really great experience, and they're expecting brands to do that for them. And so I'm going to pause for a moment there and give it to Shalini, she's going to talk a little bit about the frustrations with brand experiences.
Thanks, Meagan. So moving on to the consumer's frustrations with brand experiences, what we found was the top 3 areas of frustrations were brands sending inconsistent messages across channels, which was closely followed by when brands are sending irrelevant messages, and lastly, the message frequency itself. So the big key takeaway here is really that brand experiences can risk frustrating consumers, and that can be a major cause for losing a customer. With that said, it's important that brands are taking into consideration each individual's expectations as part of their engagement strategy itself. So looking ahead to when we all go back to a pre-COVID world, consumers are most likely going to be engaging with brands across both traditional and online channels. We're all aware of this shift happening towards a hybrid model of offline and online, but brands really need to ensure that they're setting themselves up for success and are able to communicate through multiple channels. But more importantly, they can get that full view of the customer and how they're interacting with brands. So with regards to the research and the key takeaways we found, the research itself definitely provided MoEngage team and I with actionable insights, which we're passing on to our clients and our peers. Now, whilst consumers have high expectations when it comes to personalized communication, each individual customer has a unique set of preferences, which range from where they shop, whether that's online or offline, the types of content they receive, and frequency of communication. At the end of the day, what's important is to recognize that delivering a consistent, relevant, and well-timed experience is really what's going to help brands retain customers while seeing more from the engagement strategies itself. We're aware that brands still have a very tough job to stand out from the competition, but with personalization and omnichannel marketing, they can engage with customers whilst also differentiating themselves.
And so you mentioned, Shalini, consistent experiences, and I think that a lot of the people in this presentation today can probably agree this is really hard to do. Personalization is something that has been a talk for years. It's definitely a buzzword, but it's still just so important. And I still think that so many brands haven't been able to really deliver on that dream of giving that one-to-one personalization. And so wanted to highlight some of these challenges because these are often challenges that we hear about. If you are someone that is less technical, you're relying on technical leads or developers to really bring new campaigns to market. That could be, building a template, an email template. It could be, building a new landing page. And you're really burdened by the fact that you can't move quick enough to get new programs launched, or you have too many marketing tools. I think we've evolved so quickly in this digital world that we have, a CRM, we have our marketing automation system, we have so many different tools out there, and that's requiring marketers to really duplicate those efforts. So if you want to send a push notification campaign and you want to send an SMS text message campaign, you're going to have to do that twice if you're using 2 different platforms. Similarly, because of all these tools, you have data that lives everywhere. And I know that as a marketer, I've been frustrated by this in the past. I have to look at my Google Analytics to get my web data. I have to look at my marketing automation system to understand how people are engaging through their life cycle. And so there's just so many different touch points to be aware of. And as you start to add more channels, it makes it really difficult to personalize that experience because you have this data living everywhere. And what's even more challenging is when that data is inactionable, which means that it's hard to find, it's hard to decipher, it's hard to manipulate. And so these are some challenges that we've often heard about. Wanted to talk a little bit about some trends driving customer experience, because these are some trends that, we often hear about really from the market, but also just generally. So when it comes to the holistic customer view, this is really around bringing in data from multiple sources, really allowing you to have that understanding of the customer and how they are engaging with your brand and what channels they're engaging on with what content. The second trend that's driving customer experience today is AI. And I know that AI can be a little scary for some people, but it doesn't necessarily replace what humans are doing. It really complements what they're doing, so that we can be more effective getting all the insights and data that we need at our fingertips so that we can make better decisions. Digital transformation, obviously another buzzword, but something that I think most of us can agree in the last year has been a priority for brands. If there were digital initiatives that were more long-term, they had to really be accelerated because brands had to start communicating with customers mostly digitally, especially when we had these lockdowns and people weren't, able to go places. So that's another trend we're seeing. Personalization, of course, that's what this presentation is all about. How do you engage with each consumer in a unique way? And then lastly, omnichannel. And going back to the research, you did see that there were consumers that were choosing different channels on how they want to communicate. And I think this is only going to get more spread out. Consumers will have their own preferences, and brands that want to succeed need to be able to understand each consumer is different and having a strategy that is most effective for them. And so just looking at some of the customer engagement challenges, wanted to highlight some of those. So it looks like acquiring new customers is a top challenge, as well as getting that unified customer profile, and then the inability to move fast and create campaigns and personalize those across channels. So really good insights. Thanks for sharing with us. So wanted to just talk to you a little bit about the customer lifecycle. There are many ways, obviously, to look at a customer lifecycle. And, customers are more connected now than ever. They're going to be engaging with your brand across multiple digital channels, sometimes, at the same time. It could be your website, it could be social media. They might actually step into a physical store and then look at their mobile phone to check prices or to request coupons, and eventually maybe purchase via mobile because they're seeing a better offer. And so at MoEngage, we mapped out this customer lifecycle journey that really just shows us the best engagement channels at each of these different stages, all the way from awareness through to conversion and loyalty. And so the aim here is to really help deliver value. It does encompass 4 stages. Obviously, this isn't a one-size-fits-all model, but it is something that we've seen work really well and can be customized if you are just starting your customer lifecycle planning. If you go to our booth, we have a guide on how to implement this, so feel free to download the guide. It's free, and it gives some really good strategies and best practices, both for digital engagement as well as physical and store engagement. And so just to dive a little deeper into a multi-channel customer journey, the first phase of this life cycle is really called the discovery phase. And so obviously this is when, your customer, your prospect comes in contact with your business. It could be through any kind of online or offline medium. And a great example of different kinds of marketing tactics at this stage could be cold emails, it could be events, it could be online searches or TV ads. This is a great time too to really leverage promotional codes or special discounts if you are on the e-commerce or retail space, just to encourage prospects to check out your brand. The second is the act stage, where a customer will acquire a first product or service from you. And so similarly, this is a great opportunity to really stand out, to offer that relationship, to show that you care, to have that personalized engagement. And so, considering tactics like personalized messaging across channels, or considering even remarketing when you've had someone come to your website or had someone come to maybe engage with you via email or another channel, and being able to offer something based on content that they've consumed prior. Then following that is the convert stage. This is the one we all really want, right? We want people to buy from us. And so how do you turn a one-time customer into a loyal customer? And so we've seen that marketers are using tactics, really personalized marketing tactics around omnichannel or conversational commerce. And so the more personalized communications you can offer really ups the chances that your customers will become loyal, because they're going to see you as different from another brand out there that isn't personalizing that experience. And then lastly, of course, is engagement. Consumers, based off the research we did do, showed that they want to receive a personalized experience. So how should you be thinking about that? You can think about it from different channels. Maybe you have certain consumers that like to receive certain type of content on each channel. Maybe you have some consumers that don't necessarily engage with you every day. They engage with you on a monthly basis. So think about frequency. Think about different ways that you can really customize that experience for them, allowing you to have that holistic view. And so saying that, I know it's much easier said than done. And the next step is, how do you scale this? Like, let's say you have 100 consumers, or let's say you have 10,000 or 20,000 consumers to be able to personalize an experience for. How would you scale that? So I'm going to pass it over to Shalini again, and she's going to walk you through, from our perspective, how you would do that using our platform, but of course, sharing those best practices along the way.
Thanks, Meagan. So on the topic of, the customer behavior and the customer journeys, it's really important that understanding the customer behavior, and that too at every stage of their journey, is a really powerful way for brands to get the most from their customer engagement strategies. Today, brands have the ability to analyze, segment, engage, personalize, and optimize as well the customer engagement across omnichannel touchpoints, really to create those deeper, meaningful connections with their customers. You could be doing this manually right now, or it could be through a customer engagement platform. Either way, what I'll be doing is digging into some best practices, which you can then apply to your own strategies. Now, as Meagan said, whilst this is from the view of MoEngage, you should be able to apply these scalable strategies either to your in-house team or your current platform as well. One of the most important and best practices is to get that single unified view of your customers, and that too with one platform for marketing, insights, and engagement. By knowing the users first, you'll be set up for success when you move on to creating your customer engagement strategies for each customer type. Obviously, user properties such as name, age, email, and so on are foundational, and most of us have this already in our CRM and marketing automation tools. But there are other criteria which are just as important. So, for instance, getting a view of the enriched data, such as how many times the customer has been on your site or the number of transactions, that sort of data can help you decipher what the level of loyalty to your brand is with a customer. Maybe the platform that you have can provide you with RFM data too. And that's going to help you see where each customer is in relationship with your brand. And then user interactions, that's another key component that you should have. Not only is that going to help you see how customers are interacting with you, but it's also going to be a gauge for where they are in the buying cycle. So that means you can engage with a customer in a more focused manner and provide the customer with information they need to help them make their purchase. And finally, with campaign interactions, what you really should be able to see here is what are the preferred channels and ways of engaging which the customers prefer. Maybe, as an example, they don't open your emails, but will absolutely check out your in-app messaging. And that's the type of data that's going to be helpful for you to build strategies which are most relevant for various segments of your customer base. So I mentioned earlier about customer behavior and engagement strategies. I think first and foremost, you really need to understand your users and then build on top of that. So really here what we're trying to showcase is that creating the unified profile view will help, but there are other best practices, which if you layer on the user path analysis across the customer journey, that's going to become a really effective way for you to build out your strategies. Now, by having a user path analysis in place, you'll be able to uncover and visualize the paths that your customers follow whilst navigating your customer touchpoints. This takes the guesswork out of your customer analysis, and it's also going to allow you to stay on top of changing trends without you drowning on data. By getting these precise insights from your data, you're going to have a much better sense of your customers' behavior. One example would be that you can easily begin to spot events that lead to, say, uninstalls of your mobile app, for instance. That's going to allow you to spot churn before it happens, or even uncover problems such as suboptimal onboarding, maybe customers having difficulty in finding relevant products or services, or potentially they're receiving too many notifications. So another best practice is understanding and segmenting your customers. For automation, consider a platform that has built-in RFM analysis, which is based on recency, frequency, and monitoring. Now, RFM analysis is a widely used marketing model for behavior-based customer segmentation, and that can help you answer questions such as, who are your loyal customers, and which are the customers who are most likely to churn as well. With the RFM model, what you should be able to do is the ability to auto-segment, and that's going to allow you to bucket users into categories such as at risk, loyal, promising, based on the customer behavior. Now, these auto-segments can be used in multiple different ways, such as for user analysis, campaign effectiveness, and churn analysis as well. But with RFM, you'll be able to predict segmentation, and also customers who are most likely to respond to promotions, and also for future personalization as well. And lastly, engagement. As you saw from the survey results, every consumer is unique. While you'll always have a best performing channel, so to speak, you need to be able to create relevant experiences across channels, which can be challenging to do if your tools, data, and marketing operations are siloed. So I recommend that you work with a platform which can help you easily scale your multi-channel strategy by providing all of the engagement channels such as email, mobile, web, and that too, along with a built-in AI to help you automate, optimize, and predict the most optimal personalized experiences for each individual. Managing your strategy this way is going to mean that you can create a more streamlined process through one platform rather than having data and strategy spread across a number of tools.
We will kick off the Q&A. So I did see a question come through, where can we get the guide? So the customer lifecycle guide that we presented on is available in our booth. And so you're welcome to download that. It's available today. This other guide to the right that you can see on your screen right now is our personalization pulse check report. So this is where a lot of the research that we teased out today is going to be included. And so alongside that research, of course, you're going to have more strategy best practices, really keeping it, practical so that you can take away some of these insights and apply it to your own strategy. So you can get early access at our booth as well. You can also just visit this URL that you see on the screen to submit your name. But if you go to our booth, you can get both this as well as the customer lifecycle guide. This question from Ernesto, thank you. As a chief customer officer, personalization would be prioritized in the first 3 key strategic initiatives or business goals. What is your recommendation? If I understand this right, personalization is an important conversation. It also is an interesting topic because I feel like not one team owns personalization. It's really all through that life cycle. It's marketing is personalizing programs and campaigns, but being a chief customer officer, you may want to make sure that your messaging is personalized, any messaging that goes to the customer. And so in terms of like a recommendation to get started with personalization, we always recommend outlining a key initiative and trying to really show the results on that key initiative to prove the ROI, and then allowing your personalization strategy to scale based off of what you've seen perform best. So trying to understand the data and analyzing that data, and then choosing, how you want to take that data and accelerate it into your strategy. It's a little complex of an answer. I think it depends on what your use case is. But if you want to send me a quick chat or a message, we could even do a meeting and we can talk a little bit about your goals. I'd be happy to kind of share with you some of the things that we've talked to customers about. Okay. Another question around, do you serve score grading and profile segmentation through MoEngage? We do. So profile segmentation is at the heart of what we do. You can segment your customers or consumers in any different way. What Shalini talked to was the RFM analysis. And so we will automatically segment users based off of certain traits. So you may have a consumer that's more loyal. And so maybe that loyal consumer is someone who's always buying for you, or someone who's an advocate for your brand. But then you may have a consumer that's hibernating. And so, for me, I tend to do a lot of my shopping in terms of retail during the retail holiday season, Black Friday. And so I may not shop at those stores throughout the year, but I definitely am during that time. So I would be considered a hibernating customer. And so we're able to tell you those sorts of insights based off of really how your consumers are engaging with your brand.